exhausted today. I don't know what from. Maybe all the travel caught up to me finally.
Huh. I'm feeling exhausted too, but I figured that's because I had Canada Day celebrations and libations yesterday, so that's what I was assuming was the issue in my case.
Yeah, I think just traveling, coming back, you get back to your house after being away for a month, and your body's just like, okay, you're home. Time to take a break.
Yeah.
Shut down.
Yeah. Okay, let me just do this. We will make Dr. Katz big and glorious. 1 second.
Flattering will get you everywhere.
Well, I keep trying. I'm still making up for my past sins, so. All right. Let's move you up here. There he is. Look at that handsome lad.
There we go.
In living color.
All right, let's push you live here. 1 second. Ah, there. Oh, there it is.
Are we live?
We are.
Sometimes.
We're live with our friends on YouTube. I did that a few minutes ago. We should be. Let me just check here. Oh, look at that. There we are. It's all good.
There we go.
It's all good. No whammies. We had, actually I did shish kebab, the vegetables. It was delicious, and big sort of T-bone steaks. And my wife made some like dirty mashed potatoes with tzatziki instead of like milk or butter or something in them. It was quite good. Anyways.
I think the tzatziki has the yogurt in it.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tzatziki, if I can say it. Yogurt and dill, exactly. So anyways, it was quite good. You put it in mashed potatoes. I never thought about that. That's why she's the cook and I'm the eater.
One quick question, guys.
Yeah.
I am getting feedback in my headphones. Is there anything, is it on your end or my end, or should I restart and come back on?
You sound okay to me. Is the feedback your own voice or is it ours?
Yes, it's my own voice into my headphones.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
I don't know why that.
I'll manage.
Let me try turning that off. How's it sound for you guys? Anybody else getting echoing either on YouTube or in the room? No, all sounds good. Excellent.
Let me. I keep getting the squat guy in my ear though, but.
Yeah, I turned him off. I had to turn him off. So okay.
Yeah.
So as Mike mentioned a couple of minutes ago, guys, if you have questions that you want Dr. Katz to answer, throw them in here, and we'll be sure to get to them.
And then this would be a good opportunity, Dr. Katz, if you want to give kind of an intro to the Handling FOMO webinar that you're going to be discussing next week.
Yeah. Tuesday night, Mike and I will be presenting a webinar on fear of missing out, which is something that every trader can relate to. Maybe on a daily basis, unfortunately. So we got a couple things. Going to talk about FOMO, some of the triggers for FOMO, some of what the causes for it, and then we'll talk about some tips and exercises that might be helpful in terms of managing FOMO and minimizing the negative impacts of FOMO.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a good webinar.
I think definitely. There's not a single one of us that hasn't experienced the symptoms. So
that is for sure. I could have used that before I went live. That was my biggest problem when I first went live. I kept getting into trades when I should have been getting out of them.
Zen, you sing ballads to your missed trades, do you? I guess I can. I guess I can understand that.
Yeah, when I first went live, I was what Brian calls what's he call the traders that are buying at the top of stuff? What's that trade?
The bigger
strategy
fool.
he calls? Yeah, the bigger fool. I was always the bigger fool.
That's right.
For the first 2 or 3 weeks.
I started calling that Brian's lesser fool strategy because his objective is to be the lesser fool. So that's I just find that entertaining. So, oh well, he calls them Jennifer. Oh, Jennifer, come on now. Now you're picking on yourself. That's not right.
So Master Chief has a good question for you, Dr. Katz. Any tips on how to avoid taking too many trades quickly? So back-to-back trades.
Usually that comes from a kind of a sense of, let me do something. I'm going to have to get off and come back on because this feedback in my ears is too much. So let me try to do one thing technology-wise, and I'll be right back, okay?
No problem.
All right, we'll do. While he's doing that, Zen, Master Chief, let me give an answer, and we'll see if ours are even remotely similar. One thing I've noticed is that the only time I take trades quickly is when I have a loss. Because if it's a winner, then you're riding it, right? And I'm not so eager to take another trade so quickly. At least that's in my case. So what I found is that one of the things that sometimes I have to do when I find that gets bad for me, when I start taking a bunch of trades real fast, is as soon as I have a loss, mandatory get up and walk away. Take a walk around the block. All right, walk the compound. Whatever you've got to do, go. Remove yourself from the situation. So hopefully you can come back and it's basically a cool off period. I'm not always good at doing that because once you have a loss, you really want to make it back. But I found that my fastest trades, both in duration and in rapidity of taking them one after the other, is when I'm in a losing situation. So.
Yes, I agree too. Those definitely are tough. You get in, and I found myself with a little bit more of a tendency to do that now that I'm trading a lot of these breakout high of the days.
Yeah. Because
you get the momentum, you get in, you get the pullback. You're like, okay, it's not working. Let me get out. I'll get it on the next one.
Yeah.
And so you hop right back in, and then you're right back out, and you're like, what am I doing right now?
There's a mantra I repeat to myself all the time because I find that the getting up and walking away is really hard because, at least for me, my mental attitude is I'm going to miss it. I'm going to, I didn't get this one, but I need to get the next one. And if I walk away, I'm going to miss the next one. And I have to repeat to myself all the time, there's always another trade. You could walk away for 3 hours and then come back, and there's always another trade. Yeah. And it took me a long time to actually sink that into my head where I truly believed that there's always another trade. And that, anyways, but eventually it has, which has given me that opportunity to say, okay, I can get up and walk away and do that, remove myself from the situation so that I can calm down. But it's easier said than done. I don't know. I find that, I thought I was a much more disciplined human being than it turns out I am.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, back. That's much better on my end. Sorry about that. Just picking up on what you said, Peter, one of the things that I think that is good for people to remember in their pre-trading day routine, which plays into that last question, is to kind of do your own little emotional inventory as you get up in the morning. Because sometimes when people are feeling particularly anxious or unsettled, that level of discomfort, sometimes we try to get rid of it. And one of the ways people try to do that is to try to kind of trade, to kind of get lost in their trading. It might be motivated by some feelings of anxiety. I mean, it could be a bunch of emotions, some greed, some impatience. But when you're not feeling kind of emotionally in a grounded place, I think then you're like what Peter said, your discipline sometimes is not as good as you want it to be. And you start trading either in a fashion, not following your plan, or doing multiple trades over a short period of time, because whatever discomfort you're feeling, one of the ways to not experience that in the moment is to take a trade. Again, it's very much like I feel like how people feel when they eat fast food. They enjoy it for the first 90 seconds. And then they go like, what the hell did I just do? So trading can be like that. It feels great in the moment, but then you go like, man, why was I taking these 3 or 4 trades in a row just to kind of get out of myself? I wasn't really following my own discipline and pattern. So I would really, I guess, check in with your own emotional state. And if you're feeling a little out of whack, then I think it's important to be mindful of that and slow yourself down and really try to adhere to your plan.
Excellent. Yeah.
Actually, and John, I like what John is saying. He has to be careful when he hears that that bell from the alert that he's got, not just to leap into a trade. Yeah, you still have to do your due diligence on it, right, to make sure it's really a setup. Now, that's one of the risks I've always found with, I mean, look, if it was that easy, if you could just trade off of an alarm, then all of those computer programs that people are trying to sell, all of the automated systems that, you know, frankly, the big organizations have spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to perfect, they would all work so much better, right? You wouldn't need traders at all. But the reality is, they don't work as flawlessly as
it doesn't work that way.
No.
Listen, people try to get around every single thing. I'll never forget early in the Fitbit era, where a guy bought a Fitbit because he wanted to please his wife. And then what he did an hour before she would get home from work, he'd put it in the dryer under cool, so it would just move around a lot. And he would get all his steps in via just it shaking around to the dryer. And then he'd put it back on and show his wife. So, you know, if you want to kind of try to game the system, it's usually not going to be helpful.
I've heard of things like that, or you attach it to the dog's collar, right? And then that can often be a mistake, because then you look at it and somebody's like, so you did 40,000 steps today? Oh, I got a call. Hold on, guys. I'll be back.
Yep, no problem. So it's a good point John just put there, right? Especially when he hasn't traded yet for the day, you really get anxious with it. I can tell you, me right now, I'm anxious about next week, because next week I'm going to actually go back to live trading. And after being off for a month, dealing with internet connection issues and being at the family, what are some ways to kind of ease yourself back into that, other than kind of reducing your risk?
I think you should be prepared to kind of give yourself some of the kind of emotional time to work yourself into the trading. I think if you slow down, like, it's gonna feel like you're getting your legs back under you, so to speak. It's kind of like when you haven't played a sport in a while. It just, nothing is going to feel in sync. And so your natural groove of how you're seeing the markets and seeing trades on the screen, it may take a little while to work your way through that. So that's why I think just taking it slowly, and you actually just be patient with yourself, have lower expectations, and just kind of work your way through it, and really focus on just making good trading decisions. Like you said, maybe you're going in smaller size and you're going at a slower pace. Don't worry about so much about what you're missing. We'll talk about that on Tuesday. But on Monday, just kind of just take care of just getting your patterns and your routines back into kind of what they had been. And listen, it could be like riding a bike. An hour or so into the trading day, you might be feeling it. It may take much of the day. Hard to know. But I think just be patient with yourself with regard to that.
Yeah, I plan on reducing risk significantly, at least for the first couple trades, until till my heart stops pounding after a while. Because I think one of my biggest fears that I have right now is, because I've been just trading in sim for so long and just trading everything, getting that discipline back to making sure, like John said, that you're taking only those valid setups and you're not just taking anything that hits a scanner or hits something that you think is going to work out.
So one of the things, Mike, that you may want to make sure that you do maybe on Sunday later in the day in preparation for Monday is just make a little list of some of those kind of key mental reminders to be aware of, so you have it right next to you. Visually you can see it. And listen, some of these things, it may be a little like life insurance. you hope to not have to use it, but you have those kind of reminders there as kind of backup, just in case, like all of a sudden you get kind of lost in things.
Yeah, I definitely am going to do that. That's for sure. Oh, no whammies, I think, has a question here.
Yeah.
You have any comments on mental preparation for the trading day? For instance, a mantra about accepting failure and not turning a possible negative into a larger negative.
I think your pre-trading day routine is important. From the mental perspective, I think there's aspects of things where people like to kind of do some clearing their mind, sometimes some mindfulness stuff, meditation, just kind of getting kind of organized. The aspect about a mantra, I think more that the key is to have a kind of an open and growth mindset where it's not about failure. Every kind of losing trade is an opportunity to learn from that experience and to kind of forge ahead and use that information to be improved. Having losing trades is inherent in the trading process. So that is not, to me, problematic. You're going to trade something well and sometimes lose, and sometimes you may be fortunate to trade something poorly and make some money. To me, it's really kind of just, looking out at that, seeing what you've done well and trying to build on that, and then kind of also accepting the nature of setbacks and obstacles in trading, and losses are part of that. And so kind of get your head around not just beating yourself up. This is where people have a hard time, who tend to be a little more perfectionistic, have a hard time accepting losses as part of the process and see that much more as a personal failing as opposed to just an inherent part of the trading process.
Yeah, that was definitely a big one for me in the beginning. I like to be right.
Well, yeah, well, listen, we all do. And there are a lot of situations where we can kind of control being right a lot more. And so that's one of the difficult transitions in trading. Athletes face this all the time. If you think about a baseball player working their way up the minor leagues to the pro, to the major leagues, they may be in AAA, AA. They're seeing not so great pitchers. They're hitting well. They get moved up and they have to adjust to better pitchers they face. And they get to the major leagues and it's even more difficult. So it's, those challenges as you try to work your way through trading is the same kind of thing. I mean, you're going to have to be able to deal positively and constructively with setbacks, with losses, and not that it doesn't hurt and not that it's not painful, but the key is to kind of use that information to kind of improve your trading and to learn from it. That is the key component, and the best traders are able to use that in a positive and constructive way.
Agreed. Woo. So, Dr. Katz, are you doing anything special for the 4th of July?
I am not. We are going to be flying from Austin, Texas to our house in Cape Cod, Massachusetts next week. So my wife and I are being very careful about Texas is not a great place right now in terms of the COVID cases. So we are being abundantly careful, especially in light of the fact that we have to take a flight, which we're not terribly excited about, but we have family, kids on the East Coast. And so it has been a long time since we've seen them. So we are masking up and gloving up and taking all the proper precautions and going to bite the bullet and get on an airplane on next Thursday, which is why I actually will be with you guys next Wednesday. So hunkering down a little for the 4th of July weekend and looking forward to maybe the travel and getting to see family.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's the same thing. me and my family are going to do barbecue at the house, sit back, watch
Yep.
some movies, relax.
You were gone for a
Barbecue
whole month, Mike?
watermelon. Yeah, a whole month. So went up. I built stairs and a deck because they were falling off my parents' house.
Whoa.
And the only entries to the house are really on the second floor. So without them, you're kind of trapped. And the last thing I need is my mom, who's already kind of instability, not being able to get into the house safely. And then just took care of some financial stuff for them and getting their estate and everything worked out. So it was
And so that
long
didn't lend
process.
itself to much trading, right?
No. And then, well, I was planning on trading, but everybody in the room knows I just had some terrible internet connection issues.
That was just
wasn't,
unforeseen.
stable.
There's
Yeah.
yeah.
Just unforeseen. Figured I'd have a stable internet connection, and it just wasn't stable. So I called it a day.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
So instead, I just been trading in sim, working on a new strategy.
mhm.
And I didn't really want
grew
to go live going into a holiday weekend.
Right.
Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry about that.
No.
Hey, Facebook
well-
is breaking down.
Yeah, I see a lot of things are. In fact, I was looking at that while I was on the phone, and I just took out the rest of my PFE trade. It doesn't look like it's going to recover today, so I took all of it out at 34.65. Looks like it was a good thing I did because it's still just dropping. So.
Yeah. Everybody covering their positions before the 4th of July,
I held
waiting
that-
for all the bad news.
I held that thing all day, and it still wasn't my best trade of the day. Oh. Sometimes that's what
Well,
happens.
it wasn't your worst though either, Peter.
Oh no! All my trades were all
Okay,
green today,
okay.
so that's good. No complaints on
nice.
that front.
Okay. So if I was near you, then you would buy the drinks tonight. Is that what you're telling me?
For you, always. So, well, it depends what you drink. I should be careful because then you go order some top shelf stuff and bankrupt me. So,
Yeah.
Order,
I'm not
order
that
the
kind of
top
guy.
shelf whiskey.
no, you're not the top shelf guy. It's,
Karen's asking Dr. Katz if you could share
Yeah.
some methods for building up mental resilience.
Building up mental resilience. Yes. Basically, the way the way we build up actually mental resilience is to actually go through challenging situations and work through them, as painful as that might be at times, and to see that we can come out the other end, so to speak. There's no shortcut in terms of that. I think what you want to try to do is to so some of the things that you want to try to develop in your resilience toolbox, so to speak, are a sense of optimism is very helpful in building resilience, especially a realistic sense of optimism. I think having a moral compass is a helpful thing in terms of trying to develop resilience. For some people, religious and spiritual beliefs can be very helpful in terms of that development. A huge one in my mind is like cognitive and emotional flexibility, to be able to kind of be open in your thinking and ways of seeing things. And social connectedness is really huge in terms of being able to develop things that could be helpful in your resilience toolbox. But I think flexibility is huge because resilience is really the aspect about how we kind of manage, again, challenging situations and work through them. So it necessitates us being kind of open and flexible in terms of approaches and not getting too discouraged when things are problematic. So, if you can make a commitment to focus your energy on the things that you can change and look at that as opportunities as opposed to the obstacles, supporting others, like, trading communities are great like this, because I think you can support others and look for support from other people and not have to go at it alone. This whole time period with the pandemic, a lot of civil unrest, a lot of people, economic issues, is kind of an incubator for the challenge of building resilience for all of us. So there's no easy answer there, but I think that's the way one builds that kind of gradually and incrementally over time.
My God, the market is just pulling back here, guys. Everything's dropping.
Yep. Going into the weekend. Nobody wants to hold anything.
I guess not. Not the long weekend here. Anything can happen over a long weekend.
Especially 4th of July. Everybody's shutting everything down.
Yeah. Hey, and Steve, fantastic trade. I even called the Mountain Pass against my own trade. And I'm glad that you took it, because actually it was a good setup, and as it turns out, it worked even better than I'd expected it to. I mean, this market downturn, of course, helped propel it, but well done.
Was that on PFE?
Yeah.
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 Apple, Microsoft, everything just selling off.
Yeah, well, I was watching Microsoft at VWAP, but I was still on the phone when it was sort of, it had started to drop before I got off the phone, and I do have a rule that I will not take a trade while on the phone, because I've done that in the past, and I realized usually I haven't done a thorough assessment and something goes wrong. In this case, it would have worked, but still stick to the rules. Yeah, Steve.
Boeing seems to be holding steady here at 180, though.
Steve, I think that's a perennial issue with anybody who's trades short term, sort of like a lot of us do, because you always, I wish I'd taken less partials, until it pulls back against you, and then you're like, oh, good thing I took that partial, right? Like, it's amazing how we can convince ourselves, of differing truths from one moment to the next. I find that stunning. Maybe there's a good topic we should talk about at some point, Jonathan, is, how we can convince
Hindsight
ourselves
bias.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know what to call it properly, but I just know, like we said, like sometimes you can have one trade where you're like, oh, thank God I took that partial because it moved back and stopped me out, so I got something. The very next trade, you do the same thing, but it continues, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have taken those partials so early because, look, I could have held on for longer. And it's like, you don't know.
I think in those things, Peter, it's very much a recency bias. It's what you've experienced last that you feel. And then you try to kind of back into some explanation as to how you could have or should have or would have done something differently. And this is why actually charting things and journaling things is really important, because, as they say, numbers don't lie, or, you can get some of that information and that data there and really look it over. And some of that thought process, if something happened more recently, may not be actually representative of a bigger picture.
Actually, you make me think. I was just reading a couple of articles about, they called it gambler's fallacy, but it sounds like the same thing for recency bias. I assume that that's the same theory, where they say, so, if you're a gambler in a casino, and, let's say you get, it doesn't matter, play blackjack, and you get like 10 bad hands, and you're like, well, I'm due for a good hand. Well, actually, no. Like, there's no statistical probability the next one's going to be any better than the last one, right? Like, but we all get that feeling, like, or, the dice goes against you or whatever it is, and you're like, well, I'm due. Well, no, you're not, actually.
I'm due for it. Nope.
What it also speaks to is really kind of a little bit of a lack of confidence, or a trust in kind of what you've been doing, because it's the question. Part of it is just, right, the hardest thing is just to accept what it is for what it is, and not try to kind of read into it further, even though that's a natural human tendency to do that.
Yeah. It's one of those things where we all like to think that, that we have control. It's one of those things of elements of
Yeah,
control over
yeah.
the environment, right?
Yeah.
And anyways, to think I am particularly lucky or unlucky, is one of those things we like to convince ourselves
I will say
of.
one thing as we approach the close. As control is a very big issue, and I know what I'm about to say will sound paradoxical and maybe a little existential. I don't mean to get too a little heavy on everybody, but one of the real powerful things in psychology in my work, not only with trading but with athletes and actually with just regular folks, so to speak, is that the issue of control, what is very liberating is the concept of the way you gain control is by giving up control, giving up the illusion of control. And so if you let go of the thought that you have a lot control over a lot of things, it actually can be very comforting, because there's so much of time and energy that many of us put into trying to control things in the world that we can't. The pandemic has kind of taught us some of that, but it's just thing to keep in the back of your mind.
That's is that if you love something, let it go type thing?
No, it's actually quite different, Peter.
Oh, okay. All right. It's funny you mentioned the way you said that. Athletes and then regular people. My daughter came back from university. She went to university on a scholarship in the U.S. playing on a Division I sort of soccer club, and she came back and she was talking about NARPs at Christmas time, and like all these NARPs that are around and how annoying they were, and I'm like, what is a NARP? And she said, oh, that's the non-athletic regular people.
Oh boy.
So I guess from the athlete's point of view, you had the athletes who had were in one category, and then the NARPs in the other category. So.
Well, for so many years, I know, Peter, this is probably in you and I generation where, like, the jocks, right, the athletes, who always had this stigma attached to them, because it was really mostly what wasn't stated was the dumb jocks. I mean, that was the implication for athletes kind of back in the day. So maybe this is now kind of, the reverse. Neither one is very constructive or positive, and probably should be avoided.
Yeah, true. Fair enough. True. Well, look, the market is closed, guys. It was a fairly slow day, but we expected that. Coming into it, we did say expect the volume to be down, right, and the price movement to be a little sort of lazy. I think the day proved that out, especially if you look at the SPY over the course of the day. I just got it up on the screen here, and look at how it sort of moves sideways. Now, into the close, there was certainly a little bit of a pullback. Again, you could have sort of predicted that, but I'll admit I wasn't in a position to take advantage of it, but I know a couple of you did, so that's fantastic, including Steve. So congrats, Steve. I'll give you the trade of the day just because you took that mountain pass that I'd called against my own trade, and you took it smart on the technicals, and I appreciate that, so well done. Dr. Katz, thank you as always for being here. I hope you have a good long weekend and safe travels.
You guys as well. Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to speak to you, I think, next Wednesday. We'll be together before my travels. We'll switch it up next week, just for next week, because of I'll be in the air during this time. Okay. So, yes. So you guys all have a good, safe holiday weekend, and I will speak to you next week.
Sounds good, sir. Take care.
Yes. Okay. Bye-bye.
Mike, I've been telling people, I said I went to my neighbor's house because they're part of we have what was mandatory social circles is one of the theories they've put in place here in my part of the world. So you're not supposed to have a social circle of bigger than 10, right? And then their social circle shouldn't diverge, meaning because that's just now you're got a chain of cascade. So anyways, we got neighbors across the street where we typically go over to their house and drink and we talk and things too, but we drink. Anyways, so he was over there and I was saying,
I do that a lot.
I got this guy that he worked with that he said his daughter is making watermelon jerky, and everybody gives me that look like, what? You can do that? I'm like, I don't know. Sounds crazy to me, but apparently it is. So
yeah. So I'm gonna try out barbecuing a jerk watermelon this.
So I want
4th of July.
If nothing else, could you possibly either take a photo that you can share with us, or save us a piece that you can show on camera? Because I'm dying to know what this looks like. And,
I could do that.
All right.
I'll post it there because that's going to be my adventure for this weekend.
Yeah, sounds
gonna be
cool to
good.
me. So anyways, all right, with that, guys, obviously we got no earnings after hours. We don't have much going on. I'll give one last reminder like we do. Let's see if I've got the slide to go with it about some of the stuff that you can take advantage of. So as always, if you want to join us for a week. I would recommend don't do it today, don't do it tomorrow. You'll just lose a day. But if you want to join us for a week trial for $24, use the code ClosingBell24. And you can get a discounted rate. Sorry, I was getting myself distracted there. Also, if you wanted to join as a lifetime member, there's no better time than the present. So go for it. Independence 40 is your discount code. 40% off our one-time lifetime membership. So that is something that you can do, and we'd be happy to see you in the room. Mike already delivered his module. I just wanted to highlight, I am actually looking forward to this, and I feel very sheepish, I have to admit, every time it comes up, because Norm, of course, now is making fun of me because I poo-pooed the session for traders over 50, and it's a thing, and I'm very much looking forward to it. It sounds like it'll be fascinating, actually, and said I'm on the precipice of being over 50 myself, so I better pay close attention so I know what to expect. That's going to be next Wednesday, and like this Wednesdays, I know we had a lot of people that were last night, were dialing in at 8 o'clock trying to get the webinar and wondered what the heck happened, because Eamon, that would have been like 3 a.m. for him. He delivered it at 5. Next week's is also at 5 p.m., okay? So 5 p.m.
Peter,
Yeah.
reminder, Peter.
Yes.
Remember, that one got delayed. I believe you're taking it next Wednesday.
Oh, damn. You're right.
That is the over 50
I forgot.
that
See?
you need.
That's the 5% of my brain that's gone that I couldn't even use for that. So thank you for interrupting. So change that. Hold on a sec. Let me just that's not happening. So instead, I'm going to be giving a webinar that you're going to want to pay attention to. That is all about I call it from the beginning, setting up a trading plan. So what you're going to be able to do is take this, especially if you're just starting out. It'll be a good session to figure out how you would set up a trading plan. What should it look like? Like people ask all the time, what should I do? I don't understand. There's so much information, so many things, that I need to learn and that I need to put in place. How do I possibly manage this? So in the 1 hour session, we don't have time to go over all the elements of a plan. So we've got separate webinars like Mike has put together that talk about how do you set up a business strategy. I'm basically going to say set up a business strategy, right? It's a one-liner, but there's other things that I will line up for you in month 1. In week 1, what do you do? In month 1, what should you do? In month 3 to 5, what should you do? Et cetera, et cetera. So it'll help you. It'll give you an idea of what you could do. Everybody's on their own time frame, but at least this will give you a perspective as to how you could set it up. So that will be next Wednesday, and it will be at the usual time of 8 p.m. So sorry about that, and I was completely wrong, as you can see.
I've seen a little bit. I know you're redoing it, but I've seen that. It's a great aspect to build upon that business plan because it's basically the education that you need to do to get your business plan, to get your trading plan, and get ready to go live. So it's excellent course. I'm looking forward to it.
There you go. So that'll be good. So hopefully you'll join us then next week, and me specifically Wednesday evening. All right, with that, guys, have an absolutely fantastic Independence Day if you're in the U.S. If not, enjoy your time and your long weekend. Use it productively. I'm going to be stripping and staining a deck. How exciting is that? Yeah. And we'll see you guys back here Monday morning for the pre-market show at 8:30. I open the room at 7:30 for our members, and we'll have fun as always.
Everybody have a great weekend.
We will
stay safe.
We'll stay safe. Now, for people on YouTube, I'm going to have to. We'll shut her down now. I accidentally played some music. I didn't mean to, because in the background I'd been playing, as you guys know in the room, 50 Cent for Thor, because it was his birthday. So that came on.